So what did Elliott Abrams do during the Bush administration? One of the things he did was getting involved with Venezuela 16 years ago, actually 17 years ago at this point. Hugo Chavez was president of Venezuela in 2002. This infuriated the U.S. right wing, and there was a coup that was successful for only a couple of days because Chavez had so much support in the Venezuelan population, and he was able to finagle his way back into power.
But word got out that the media had tricked people, and Chavez supporters poured onto the streets, demanding that their president be returned.
So who was behind the coup? Reporting at the time said that the crucial figure around the coup was Elliott Abrams, and that he gave a nod to the plotters to go ahead. It's going to take decades until we know the full story, but it should not be a surprise to anyone if the United States was behind it, and Elliott Abrams specifically. Where does Abrams show up next? He made national news because of Representative Ilhan Omar last week, where he came to testify in front of the House Foreign Relations Committee. She's on the committee. She began with an accurate and important observation, the kind of thing that you would hope any member of Congress would say. She said,
I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
And the funny thing is that, a normal person might hear that and be like, oh, I better be pretty careful not to lie to Congress again. Elliott Abrams was lying to her within 90 seconds.
You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
Now, every single word of that is false. He's talking about a Salvadoran politician named Jose Napoleon Duarte. He was elected president. I guess there should be air quotes around that. Elected president of El Salvador in 1984. This was not a free election. Like almost all the politicians who are prominent in El Salvador, Duarte had spent time on the CIA's payroll. Duarte had been the head of a junta. He was the head of the junta during the El Mozote massacre, like during a period of time when tens of thousands of regular Salvadorans were being massacred. And the only competition for Duarte in El Salvador in 1984 was Roberto de Buisson. De Buisson personally was involved in ordering the assassination of Oscar Romero. He was the Archbishop of San Salvador. He was later sainted. So in other words, Duarte's competition was a guy who had literally murdered a saint. De Buisson was going to be a PR disaster. And so they decided, Duarte has to win. And he did indeed win. So the idea that this was a free election in any way is preposterous. And it just, goes to show that, I don't know, maybe with Elliott Abrams, it's kind of muscle memory. Like you put him in front of Congress and he just starts lying. As long as Elliott Abrams is alive, he will clearly continue doing horrible things and lying to Congress. It's important to look back and realize, why is it possible for him to resurface again in his 70s, for this genocide comeback tour? Well, the reason is that he is being protected by even more powerful people. He was protected in the George H.W. Bush administration. They could not leave office without giving him a get-out-of-jail-free card, even though he actually wasn't in jail, but just the idea that someone like them might suffer consequences was unconscionable. So they made sure that he did not suffer consequences. That, in turn, means that he's able to come back in the present and do what he's doing now.